Hey everybody, welcome to the HIT.OR.DIE podcast, episode 7. We got a big guest for you guys today. Probably one of the best players coming out of this area. Jason Donald's going to be our guest today. But before then, just want to get to our hosts, Jake Saldati and Chad Rofford. I always forget us. But yeah, Jason Donald. This is fun for me. I grew up playing against him, good friends. But let's go through some of his stats real quick. These are mind-blowing. He was a 3-year varsity starter at Buchanan. I'm just going to say his senior stats, even though I think he actually hit better than this. It says he hit 534, which I always tell people I thought it was 568. He had 11 homers. I always say it was 12 because one of them was against me, I think. He had 15 doubles and 31 ribbies. Drafted by the Angels, chose to go to the University of Arizona, was a 3-year starter, and he was first true freshman starter in the College World Series in 2004 for Arizona. Was a career batting average of .315 at Arizona. Drafted by the Phillies in 2006, 97th overall. Played in the Futures game with the Phillies in 2008. Was also on Team USA in the Beijing Olympics. They won the bronze medal, and Jason hit a home run in that game. And he led the team in batting average in the Olympics with a .381 batting average. Traded in 2009 to the Cleveland Indians and made his MLB debut on May 10th, 2010. And in that game, his first at bat, he got his first big league hit. And then he also played with the Reds, Royals, and Rangers. Jason, it's great to have you on, man.
Thanks for having me, guys. Jeez, make me feel positive about my career instead of I'm kidding. Yeah, no, it's good to hear those things, and it seems like a long time ago. But thanks for having me.
No problem.
No, we appreciate you doing it, man. It's we've been fortunate to have a lot of good people say yes to this, and this was a big one for us.
Oh gosh!
I'm there watching Jason Donald highlights.
Unimpressive during this. Don't worry.
No, I think you offer a lot for what the show's purpose is. You know, with putting out information for younger kids, whether it's recruiting, when they get to college. I think you offer a ton, so it's awesome to have you here.
Thank you.
Yeah, so let's go back to high school. I mean, we graduated the same year, so I played with you and against you since we were like 9 years old.
Yeah.
And I still, if people say he's a good shortstop, I still compare him to you. I think you were the best high school shortstop to come out of this area, and I was fortunate enough to see it firsthand. You know, why'd you choose Arizona? You know, was Fresno State in the mix? You know, how many schools and also the MLB teams?
Yeah, it was, to be honest with you, and I shared it with you the other night when we were talking, I remember the start of my junior year, I remember thinking, man, I hope I'm good enough, like, just to have a chance to, like, play at a junior college. You know, I never looked at, of course, there was a dream of, I want to play in the big leagues, right? All kids want to do that. But my main kind of mentality was I want to win. You know, and I think a lot of things get lost. Times change. You know, we're seeing kind of a shift in what's being valued in the game and what isn't. What will never go away is you have to be aggressive. You have to there has to be an ability to push every day. And I think whether you're in high school, college, big leagues, you know, I think kids, they have to kind of learn that trait at times. But really, I feel like so many things get, like the cart gets put before the horse, so to speak, of like, well, this is where I want to go, this is where I want to get to. And it's, well, what are you doing right here to set yourself up or put yourself in a position to go and have an opportunity at those things. I really feel like, you know, when I was in high school, it was like there was a desperation almost to figure it out. Like, I'm just going to go, and I'm going to hit, and I'm going to take ground balls, and it's just, that's what I want to do. I enjoyed it. You know, there's so many hitting coaches now and so many guys doing lessons, which is great. You know, there's more information out there, but at the same time, if a kid has to depend on somebody to do the work, it really, I think, is telling. If a guy really, really wants to be good, your actions prove it. You can get a bucket of balls, you can get a tee, and go work. You know, you can go to a tennis court wall and throw dimple balls off that thing and get ground balls in. You can throw BP to your buddy. Your buddy can throw BP to you. So I feel like, you know, everybody says they want to be good. Everybody says, like, oh, I want to go do this. Well, then do your actions show it, and baseball's a game of truth, and yes, some guys are gifted, but also you can kind of see improvement, and you can see guys that work. You can see guys that have some toughness in the midst of an at-bat, in the midst of a game, but just the desire to make adjustments. And I'm going to go figure it out. I'm just going to fight. I felt like, not all those things were my mentality in high school. It was just, I want to work. And I'm just going to keep working, and all those things opened up without me looking to it. It was like, I just want to try to get better today. That's it. Let's try to win now, tonight, today, whatever the case may be. And I think there's just more chatter. There's more noise, and maybe social media has something to do with it. I don't know. I don't think kids have changed that much to where it's like, you can still be tough. You can still go work hard and be a good player for Buchanan and not worry about this school or whatever. So it kind of took care of the scouts. I didn't pay attention to them as much, and they're there, and that's intimidating too. I feel for the high school kids a little bit that you have 15 grown men standing in front of you, just dissecting you,
almost waiting to see you fail.
Absolutely, and you don't know what they're thinking. You're like, well, does he think I'm good? When I was at Buchanan coaching for a few years, I would try to just convey whether he thinks you're the best player ever or the worst player ever. What he thinks has no bearing on how you need to view yourself. Like, who do you want to be? Be a good player for like that team that you're on. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, if you want to be a dude and you think that you're a dude, well, you got to prove that you're a dude. It's this scouting service says it's like, dude, the proof's in the pudding. Like, if you have a desire and aspiration to go play college baseball, then you should probably actually like show, like, not only through your numbers, but just throughout a game. Like, you just kind of take games over, you roll out of bed and get 2 hits. I think that's what legitimate D1 guys do. But just try to win for your high school team. That's it. It's personal, especially in Clovis, Fresno. Everybody knows each other. Kids grow up playing together. And that's one thing that I remember going through in high school. Like, shoot, we played against each other since we were 9, Bullard Babe Ruth All-Stars. I was Clovis West Babe Ruth All-Stars. It was like, dude, you've faced this guy 100 times in your life. It's like, dude, I want to beat you. I don't want to walk around town and see you and know he's thinking, I'm jamming that guy. I punched him out.
There was a little hatred.
Absolutely. I think
between the lines.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And
that's what I mean.
Like a good, like, I want to insert my will upon you.
Yeah.
So if I see Johnny Rockets or whatever getting a milkshake, hey man, how you doing? Yeah, I drilled you.
Yeah.
Something like
You
that.
got
Which you did drill me, I remember.
I did. I think when we were 12, I hit Chad in the head.
It was right after, I think we had you stayed the night at my house the night before.
The night before, and I think I dosed him with a heater, like in his ear hole. Yeah.
Okay, so back to, all right, you chose Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
So I remember, so there was a number of schools that I was fortunate enough to get recruited by. And yes, that was when Coach Bennett had just retired. And so Brett Prieto, his grandson, is, my best friend. So, I didn't really kind of know what to expect. And then Coach Batesel came aboard, and they did a tremendous job recruiting. I had always had I wanted to go away. It had nothing to do with what Fresno State had or didn't have, or, it had nothing to do with that. It had more to do with, I remember thinking, there's not a whole lot of guys from this area that had gone and played at the time, Pac-10 schools. And so that was something that was in my thought process. Fullerton was when, they were really rolling with Coach Horton. Coach Vanderhook was their recruiting guy, and Dave Serrano. But Coach Lopez, I identified with him. I identified with my discussions with him. And when I was around some of the players, when I took my recruiting trip, it seemed like we're very like-minded. So, and I think I would encourage kids to, when they do take a trip, they need to spend time with the guys on the team and get a feel for who those guys are, and like, are we like-minded, or is there a common thread of like, okay, you seem like you're kind of like this. How's this guy, what's he say when he talks about playing? What's he say when he talks about the coach? What's his work ethic like, if you're able to see something like that? Because really, the players that are brought in, there's always going to be a common thread, especially at a good program. Like I remember at Arizona, it was like guys that they would recruit on the mound, had good quick arms, and big 12-6 breaking balls. Melanson, a guy like John Malone, Kevin Guyette. Some of those guys had really good 12-6 breaking balls. Other guys had good quick arms, and their ball had sink. They were like 90-92 with sink. And then like position player-wise, it was guys that were kind of just more athletic, more twitchy, kind of
scrappy player, kind of.
Yeah,
like a
but
dirt
also,
bag.
had some. There was like a quickness to them, just guys that were kind of springy and athletic, not just like we didn't have really many slow guys in our lineup, if that makes sense. Like everybody could run Hundley when he was catching, Hundley could run. Everybody around the I guess guys were dynamic a little bit more, so there was that common thread. But the one, probably the biggest singular characteristic that all the guys had that lasted there, they were mentally tough. Because Coach Lopez, I love him. I love him more now than I did when I played for him. I'll say that. He's difficult. He was difficult to play for because the accountability every day, the way he would challenge guys every day, you legitimately had to prove every day like you were the best man for the job. And I think Coach Batesville operates is very like-minded with Lopes in that way, that there's a reason why Bates has quite a few big leaguers currently. Why he's had quite a few big leaguers over the course of his career. There's a reason why Lopes has had a ton of big leaguers. I think, my 3 years there, I think like 12 big leaguers came out of those 3 years. So, I think for kids that are getting recruited, it can't be the image of stuff. Oh, they got cool gear. Those are perks. That's neat, and I get. Everybody wants sweet Nike shoes and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, there's got to be some substance behind how they do things there. And is it a fit for you? So maybe it's not as glamorous of a school, but there's a fit here. And I identify with this coach. I identify with the players. And because those are guys, you're going to spend the most amount of time with them. And almost like your brothers in arms, so to speak, especially in college. College baseball coaches they got to win. Their livelihood depends on getting wins, and so they are going to put the best guy in. And so, and guys get worn out, and it's difficult, and it's tough, and you got to have guys that have the same desire to push, like you, if that desire's there.
That's how it was. I didn't go to a glamorous college. I went to Oral Roberts University, and we were kind of like a bunch of misfits. We thought we were a bunch of JUCO transfers, but it was that brotherhood. But we were all, like you said, we were like-minded. We were coming from a 2-year junior college, so we almost had that chip. Like everybody had a chip on their shoulder. Like nobody wanted us.
Absolutely.
So we went there and we did really good. We missed the College World Series by a game, but yeah, that's why I chose Oral Roberts. It was the fit for me. It wasn't. I can't go online and buy their gear, because it was a small Division I school.
Yeah.
But that was the best fit for me. And being a coach now, I try to tell my players, like, dude, it's not always about the scholarship money. It's not always about where you're going. It's about, are you going to play? Do you like the coach? Do you like the way they coach? Do you like the players?
Are they developing players? Like,
Exactly.
What's the guy's track record with putting guys in a Pro Bowl? Those guys that have gone to Pro Bowl. Have they done anything, there's got to be a body of work that you look at from the program. And really, the program is going to be whatever the head coach dictates, the direction that he's taking it in. I think, I almost went, I was like 2 minutes away from committing to Fullerton. and because I identified with them. They had Shane Costa. Shane Costa was my recruit host. Yeah, and he was a stud. He was a dude. Like the players, I remember thinking, man, I like these guys. I went to because I had a football game Friday night, and so Saturday morning they flew me down there, and I remember they picked, one of the coaches picked me up and took me right in. They had a Saturday morning lift, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was terrified. I was 17, 18, $165 soaking wet, and these were 21-year-old men, cleaning 250 pounds. I'm like, oh my gosh, but how they worked, I liked how they just went about it. But I remember when I took my trip to Arizona, I think I went to Arizona the week after, and similar type deal. Lopes had just come from Florida. Arizona, a strong tradition, but they hadn't been really a major player within the Pac-10 and postseason play for a few years. But Lopes, having won a national championship at Pepperdine, taken 3 or 4 teams in his 8 years that he was at Florida, going to Omaha, took some teams there, and then, but it was just they weren't winning. They hadn't won a Pac-10 title. They hadn't done anything in a few years, and so it was oh, well, that's not appealing, maybe, so to speak. But going there and seeing where the direction of the program, where it was going to be heading, and then it was a big time school. It was I went to a football game. Everything you kind of think of for a big time atmosphere. 35, 40,000 kids go there. It's not really a commuter school. Everybody's on campus, around campus. That's something that I had always kind of envisioned being a part of, and that was kind of the deciding factor for me with the Fullerton route. And the Arizona route was, as great as Fullerton was for me, I wanted the full college experience. I wanted the football game. I wanted all that kind of stuff, and that's Arizona offered that. And both programs, both head coaches had put out a lot of players into pro ball, put guys in the big leagues. But for me, it fit. It was just, when I was there, it was I can see myself here.
So obviously you were there 3 years, 04 to 06, and then great years. You went to the College World Series your freshman year. Let's talk about that a little bit, going to Omaha and just, that atmosphere. Because you were still at Rosenblatt, right?
Yep.
Then?
Yeah.
So that atmosphere, and then, let's go through the draft process after that.
Yeah, so I remember my freshman year, and I think it's funny, too. I think back to, the class that was just, next class up. Trevor Crow, Nick Hundley, John Malone, Brad Boyer, Jordan Brown, I'm Chris Fry. I'm missing a couple guys in there. They were studs. They were dudes. And I remember T. Crow was a first-round pick his junior year. Okay, he was the 17th overall, 5'10", outfielder. Twitchy, hit homers from both sides of the plate, stole bases, all that kind of, first-round stuff. My freshman year, his sophomore year, I don't think he played. He got benched, and he did not play for 18 games. 18. He didn't sniff the field, and that's 18 games in college. I mean, you're going Friday, Saturday, Sunday, an occasional midweek. It's almost a third. Dude, that's a month where he didn't play for a month. And so I always think back and I look at that. And the next year he hit .415 and was a Golden Spikes finalist. That speaks to his ability just to fight through and push. You know what I mean? I think a lot of guys now is well, I'm not getting mine. It's not fair. You get into pro ball, you get into life in general. Things aren't always going to work out the way you want them to. And so I always think about Trevor with that. But yeah, we went to Omaha. It was kind of surreal at first because, as a kid, you're you see the College World Series, and you're dude, that's the coolest thing ever. And you put those guys on the same pedestal as a big leaguer. It's amazing. And so I remember when we got there, it was I can't believe I'm actually here. And then, as I went through, I remember, and we were talking the other night, I broke my thumb my sophomore year, the second week of the season. I played the whole year with a broken thumb, and it was misery trying to hit 94 with basically a top hand. That's not going to go well, But my junior year, was probably the most like pressure I'd felt playing, because that's your leverage is almost gone, so to speak, and there's so much build up to it. When I was in high school, I was like, dude, I mean, I'm playing with housemen. I didn't even really care. I was like, I'm going to school. It doesn't matter. This is like, I'm ready to go play pro ball. I'm ready to start. You almost start to get to like, I hope I do well. And I remember I kind of was able to break through. I remember I started the year really well, and then the middle part of the year, I just went into a funk. And I'll never forget, I was hitting like 350, somewhere like that. And then a month later, I was like hitting like 290. It was like, whoa. And I remember we were at Oregon State, and I was 0 for Friday night, 0 for Saturday, just getting the bat shoved up my butt. And I remember we were getting boat raced on Sunday, and it was like 10-1. It was like the bottom of the ninth. It was like 2 outs. And I hit a ball 2 inches above my knuckles that like dribbled past the pitcher, and I beat it out. And I got back there and I sat down like after the game, and Mark Melanson, who's closing for the Giants, is one of my really good friends. He just like, he just sit there looking at me. I said, I quit. This sucks. This is the worst ever. Like, but I just said it's so humbling. This game's so humbling that, when you think you're in, you're out. When you think you're out, you're in. And I remember we flew back into Tucson. I remember being on the plane, coming back and go, my stroke hasn't felt good for a long time. I'm tired of like listening to this voice or what this guy thinks I should do, or what, these eyes that are watching me, what they think what they think I should be. I'm gonna go figure it out for myself. And I got off the plane and I went to our facility, and it was like 11 o'clock at night. I turned on we had an iron mic. I don't think they have those anymore. I don't even know. Right?
I think they still
make them. It's an ATEC machine now.
Yeah. And I, juiced it up to where it was throwing hard, so I stood really close. And I said, I'm just going to hit. All I want to feel is athletic, and I want to feel just like I'm putting a good swing on the ball. For like 2 hours I hit, and I found a little something. I was like, I'm just going to sit on my backside. That's it. I'm going to sit on my backside. I'm going to sit back here as long as I can and just hack. And from that point on, I think I went on like a 26-game hitting streak. It was like a school record, or 27 games, something like that. I tied a school record. Now, I'm not saying, I was some special, unique freak, but I didn't know any different to where it was just, I'm going to go figure it out. And I think it suited me very, very thankful that those kind of qualities were just put into me. That was expected as a kid growing up. You're going to continue to work, and you're going to figure it out. And you're going to keep pushing, because the only other option is you just put the bat down and go home. And this is too hard. Life's too difficult. Whatever. You just got to keep going. If you want to be a part of this game and you have aspirations to go do things, like, this is part of the job, man. And so, all those things weren't crossed my mind, but I just remember I'm just going to go hit. And so I really didn't know where I was going to get drafted. I remember, so Mark and I lived together in college, and the scout wanted to come over. I'll never forget this, plain as day. So he calls Mark, and he's like, hey, can I stop by your guys' house and sit down with you and talk? Sure. So he was supposed to meet us at like 7 o'clock. It's like 7:45. This dude, no show. Mark calls him. He's like, hey, man, where you at? He's like, oh, man, I got it hung up. Sorry, I'm on my way. I'll be there in 10 minutes. And Mark, kidding around, goes, hey, yeah, we're cooking some steaks. You want a steak? He goes, yeah, sure. Is this guy serious? This dude shows up. Literally, this guy never put a jock strap on in his life. Like, he had no clue. Like, he went, like, signed up for scout school, and then scout school to, like, oh, that guy is pretty good, So you could tell just this guy had no feels. Like, how do you have a job doing this? You're like, you're making decisions on guys. You have no clue. And this dude is sitting there crushing a steak at our, like, Salvation Army dinner table. That, I think we picked it up off the side of a road or something. And Mark and I are sitting in front of him, just like, I can't believe this guy's doing this. And he's chomping down this steak, And so Mark's a pretty funny guy, and so he's like, I'm going to mess with this guy. He goes, so the guy was with the Brewers, too. I don't remember his name. I just remember he was with the Brewers, and I'm like, I don't want to sign ever with them, like, ever, just based off this experience. He's, like, pounding down this, like, like a ground chuck roast. I mean, it was like a $2 steak, like, it ain't good. And he's hammering this thing down. Mark goes, so, where do you got us going in the draft? And he's like, oh, you, Mark? Like, I got you going like 3rd or 4th round. Jason, you'll probably be a 15th round pick. And I was like, cool, man, thanks, appreciate it. Like, what are you doing? Like, who says that stuff? Like, as he's eating a steak that
you cooked for him.
Yeah, that 2 college guys that have no money, like, just got it for him. I remember, like, dude, this guy's a clown. But that thing that sticks out in my mind from the draft stuff. Like, just a lot of weird things come up, funny. But I didn't really know, like, I'd never had a conversation with the Philly scout. His name was Theron Brockish. When they took me, I was like, and I remember the whole time watching the draft, I'm like, okay, that guy's legit. He's legit. And then, like, you'd see some guys get taken, you're like, that dude sucks. Like, what do you like, everybody does it. Yeah. It's, like, dude, I dominated that guy. Like, how's that guy going? How's this guy? And I remember when they took me, I was like, Phillies? Like, dude, I don't even know if I filled out a questionnaire for them. I legitimately thought the Orioles were going to take me. I remember I went to a workout at Camden. Their area scout was really good. I can't remember his name, but I'd had a lot of discussion with him. And so I thought, man, it's a matter of time. It's going to be them or maybe the Mariners. I thought it was going to be like those two because those are who the guys were. They were like calling me, and it just proves that you don't really know. You have no idea. So many things transpired during that draft that go on behind closed doors. And so when they took me, I was like, what the heck? Okay, cool. I'm like, I don't even know where their spring training is. I knew it was in Florida, but like where? I didn't even know who any of their big leaguers were. Chase Utley, Jimmy Rollins, but that was about it. So it was pretty eye-opening, though, like moving forward after that. And yeah, the draft process is not easy, and I feel like you can, whether you're a high school kid, and I think all high school kids should go to college, because you learn stuff. You got to fight and push through. Your parents aren't there with you every day. It's like you're almost. It's a safe way to figure it out on your own, and before you get into the big bad world of pro ball. That's not an easy life. So, and college really prepares guys. And I think there's certain statistics of high school guys that get to the big leagues and college guys that get to the big leagues, and I think it's pretty one-sided.
It is. It's a tough world out there, and I was fortunate enough to be in it. Not as long as you, getting drafted by the Phillies, and like you said, Jimmy Rollins and Chase Utley, those guys, they're playing your positions, up the middle. I heard that you were called the franchise. Did those two guys call you the franchise?
No. So it was that was like something that went sideways really quick. It started like it's just as a joke. So it wasn't. I think I was in A ball. I was in high A, so Clearwater, and it's like 115 with 100% humidity every day. It was like I looked like a starving child. Like when I came back after the season, it was like, I'm not kidding you, man. I'd go through like 4 undershirts a game. It was just the heat and humidity just unrelenting. And you're 1 o'clock early work, early BP on the field, 2 o'clock early defense, 2:45 stretch, BP. And so. But I remember like it was in the clubhouse after a game, and bullpen guys that are in the bullpen together are they're close because they sit and they watch the game together every day, and then come in and do their job. And so I heard they had like nicknames for each other, and like this guy was like, "All right, see you," like he called them like trash can, and I was like, "I call you trash can?" He's like, "Oh, he came with nicknames." Like they're just joking around. I said, "Why? Because you're dirty?" And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, that's good." I was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna like." Literally, it wasn't even something. I think I was like putting on my shoes. I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna call myself the franchise." Who would, somebody would do that. I could see somebody just saying the franchise, and I never thought about it again. And then like a week later, I was like, "Hey," that guy was like, "Hey, franchise." I'm like, "Don't do that." I was like, "Don't," because now it's gonna get like, he said this, and he actually did say this, right? And then he thinks he's going to take Jimmy Rollins' job. And, how things can just gain momentum and steam. And it wasn't until the next year I went to AA. And there was like a handful of guys from that A-ball team on the AA team. And there were some older guys on that team, too, that kind of, they'd been playing for a while. And so it was like before the season started, you have the media day. And I remember like this photographer like came up to me because you're in like a uniform. And he's like, "Hey, can you just do me a favor?" He's like, "Can you take a picture and smile and just put your thumbs like pointing to you?" I was like, "What?" He's like, "It's something for the scoreboard." And I was like, "Okay." Like, I don't know. It was 30 degrees outside. I don't care, man. So I do it. And like 3 weeks later, after BP, we're eating, and a manager comes out and he's like, "Hey, I need to talk to you." I was like, "Okay." Like, I didn't know what for. I'm like, this is random. So I go back there and I sit down in front of his desk and he's like, "How you doing?" I was like, "Good." He's like, "Everything good?" "Yeah." "Okay, cool. See ya." I go walking back in the clubhouse and like nobody's talking and everybody's like sitting in front of their lockers on their chairs, and I just see everybody has like red shirts on. I'm like, what are these guys like? But it took me like 2 minutes. Like, you're just going about your day and you're just getting ready for the game that night. And then I see like he's got the same shirt on. He's got the same shirt on. He's got the same. I was like, who are those guys on the front? And I was like, and it was like, it said like baseball math. It said, it had a picture of Utley. It said All-Star plus, and there was a picture of Jimmy Rollins, MVP. I just won the MVP the year before. And then I see the back of somebody's shirt, and it said equals franchise, and it was me with my thumbs pointing at each other. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude. And they thought the whole room was just in an uproar, like dying laughing. It was a good joke. I think I still like have a shirt like in storage or something, but it was
so obviously,
it was pretty funny.
Obviously the big guys knew about it.
Yeah, I think somebody because I went to big league camp after A-ball, and I got invited to big league camp after that AA season, and dude, those guys were like Chase Utley and Pat Burrell, and like that's when they were rolling, and that was there was definitely a veteran presence, and it was you keep your mouth shut, you don't talk, you get your work in when these guys are done getting their work in. If you're hitting in the cage, and one of them comes walking out the cage, you cannot sprint fast enough. You might as well dig a hole in the cage and just bury yourself. They got a good kick out of it. They thought it was funny. Like I remember, and Utley's hard nosed. He didn't talk much. He had like a presence to him, and I was terrified. I was like number 99. Like I think I was number 75. It's like I don't exist. And he like just made a joke like, "Hey, franchise," and I was like, oh gosh, like, no, I swear it was a joke. Like I had nothing to do with that. But they were, they thought it was kind of funny. Yeah,
that is funny. That's a good story though, man.
Yeah.
Like to tell your kids when you grow up and that kind of stuff. And
yeah,
you were doing great things with the Phillies, and you got to play in the Futures game. Not a lot of guys get to play in the Futures
and
game.
at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, the old Yankee Stadium too. Yeah, before they tore that thing down. I remember. And I was my AA team. We were in Reading, Pennsylvania, and that's the middle of nowhere. I mean, that's the backwoods of Pennsylvania, and so you just kind of grow accustomed to going to cities like Binghamton and Akron, Ohio, where they're not these major metropolises. You're playing, in older stadiums, larger stadiums, but not Yankee Stadium. And so when I got invited, it was like, whoa, this is cool, man. This is really, really neat. And I remember when we got there, we took a train. The old Yankee Stadium, huge. Like it's the most unique stadium I've ever been a part of. Like the fans are right on top of you. The kind of the second deck, how it like literally it feels like it's on top of you, like hanging over you when you're on the field. And then just that whole center field area. You remember that black tarp they had out there? It looked like it was 15 miles away. I mean, it just was just a huge, felt like cavernous space. And walking through the halls to the clubhouse, and we were on the home side, just some of the history, like some of the, they have like, there's secret little hallways that you're walking to the clubhouse through. There's pictures of, Thurman Munson and, like Willie Randolph, Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris. I mean, all these legends that had played there. It was crazy to see. And Thurman Munson, his locker was kept like with a Thurman Munson like name placard on it. And so it was, whoever catches for the Yankees, they go into that locker stall. But it was crazy. I mean, it was kind of like, I remember, you're on ESPN, it's national television. We're trying to take BP on the field. There was some random guy throwing BP. He was like left-handed. He was probably 35 feet away and throwing 95 miles an hour. You've never seen so many supposed good players hit off their knuckles, popping balls up in the cage at 8:30 in the morning. And there's 50 billion people standing around the cage, media people. It's like, dude, this is different. And I remember we go out. We were the home team. We ran on defense, and like first guy goes base hit. It was the world team, so it was guys from Dominican, Venezuela. They're from Australia, whatever. And next guy comes up, smokes the ball to second baseman, and I'm like juiced out of my gourd. And it's like he catches like a line drive, one hop, and just flips it up. And I've got like literally a full head of steam, like 15 feet. I'm like sprinting through the bag, and I come up and I throw a ball 50 rows, like straight on a line. Dude, I mean, it was where it like hit an open seat. It was like boom, like you could hear it like rattle. Like gosh, dang, like I wasn't even close. It was like I was throwing it to somebody 80 yards downfield, and like the running back's down there like 2 yards away. And so throughout the course of the game, like these like Raleigh Fingers and some of these like old time or older legends were like just coming in our dugout. I was like, dude, that's the craziest thing. And I remember George Brett came in the dugout, and he's a tremendous guy. He goes, he's like, hey, what's up, man? I said, hey. I think I said, hey, Mr. Brett, how you doing? And he's like, what position you playing? I go, playing short. He goes, did you throw that ball 80 rows deep? He goes, you're having a good game. I go, yeah, thanks. Like George Brett, like 3,000 hits, one of the best hitters ever, like pop it off to me, tell me, and I think like my first at bat too, like I literally got like a 98 mile an hour sinker like on my hands, and I shattered my bat, shattered it. So I'd thrown a ball 80 rows deep, shattered my bat, and that's what he said. Like, yeah, you're having a pretty good day, huh? And I remember I made some good plays after that, and I got a knock after that. It's like, all right, I think I played 5 or 6 innings, but that Futures game was a pretty neat experience. It's eye opening to kind of the glitz and glamour that gets portrayed for the major league, for the big leagues. When you experience it firsthand and literally like the media and all the things that you're a part of during that weekend, there's a lot, there's just a lot of eyes on you all the time. And that was kind of like the first time where it's like publicly, there's a lot of attention on you.
Well, it was a fairly new thing, right? Yeah. I mean, they hadn't had a lot of Futures games as far as I remember.
A handful, maybe. I think it was it was a couple years they've been doing it, yeah.
And then you go finish your season, and Summer Olympics happened, and you get chosen
during
to play.
The course of the season. I left for I missed 3 weeks of the season. Being Lou Marson, who was the catcher,
okay,
who's managing now, who's the AAA manager for the Angels. But Lou and I got picked for that team. So we're in Reading, and they told us we USA Baseball, we've selected you as to the Olympic team. It was really cool. Something as a kid when you're playing baseball, you never once think about the Olympics. The people that swim and track and those type sports. Everybody was honored and thrilled, but it was everybody was fired up. We don't, and it was August too, so everybody's just beat. We get to go to Beijing, not play, work out for a couple weeks, and then play a week of games, and guys there's certain guys that were not afraid to have fun while they're there, and it's a lot of fun. But before we left, it was one of the coolest things. They did, and Reading's kind of small town feel, patriotic, a lot of pride in the United States. So the night before we played our game, the night before we left, we were going to fly out. They did a ceremony on the field, like a send-off. And they had a guy, he was like, I don't know if he was a major. No, he was more, I think he was like a lieutenant or a staff sergeant. Dude, they did the national anthem, like on the field. And it was the coolest thing. I mean, I think the stadium held like 10,000 people. It was 10,000 people. The guys from the other team, and I remember it was New Hampshire, it was the Blue Jays AA team. They stayed on the field. Our guys, everybody stayed on the field, and you could hear a pin drop other than the people singing the Star Spangled Banner. It was pretty dang cool. And they played a highlight video on the scoreboard that USA Baseball made for, like, you know, the Olympics. These
promo
guys,
type deal.
Yeah, promo type deal. And, dude, like, people were out of their gourds, like, USA, like, just screaming chants, USA, USA. And the military gentleman, like, gave me one of his jackets. I was like, where'd this well go represent our country? I was like, geez Louise, man, this is...
You got beyond baseball.
Yeah, it was pretty dang cool. And the ball club that we had was a good group of guys, really talented players. But we had like 3 Secret Service guys with us, or 2. I'm sorry, 2 or 3 like ex-CIA guys that were our full-time security. And you never saw them, but they were always like on the outskirts, like the periphery. And it was, you know, there was a stabbing there, like the volleyball coach, men's volleyball coach, like his like brother was there, and he had USA stuff on, and somebody, I think from maybe China, like just stabbed him. So it was like you go to another country and it's like it's a completely different. Everybody's against you, especially, you know, everybody wants to watch USA lose. And so, you know, whoever we played, they were the favorite, you know, and the people went nuts for them. And it wasn't the biggest of venues. It was probably like 7,000-8,000 people. And in China, baseball's not, it's gaining popularity and interest, but they didn't really know the game. And so we played them like the third night. I think like the third or fourth night. And I'll never forget, we were actually the home team. We take the field, and the first guy comes up. And it was like, I don't know, like second pitch of the game. He fouls the ball straight back. The place erupts. Like a foul ball straight back. Like just
Made contact.
They went nuts. And I was like, I was like, what's going on? Like, I kind of looked around, like somebody ran on the field, like losing their minds. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like they don't understand the game. And they fly balls that were hit that they would catch in the outfield. It was like this like countdown, like the ball would go up in the air and they'd all go, oh. And then like as the ball was coming down, like, you know, 15 feet before the guy would catch it, they'd be like, oh. And then he'd catch it and they'd be like, ah, like losing their minds for like a routine F8. You know what I mean? It was like, dude, it was pretty cool. And we pounded them. We trounced them. But Nate Sherholtz, remember he played, had some time with the Giants, and
he's from he went to Chabot, I think, junior college.
He's a big, strong guy too. He played in Fresno for the Grizzlies for a little bit. And I think he was currently at the time, because you could only take minor league players. At that time, he was playing for the Grizzlies, and he was on third base, and he's a good sized guy, like 6'2", 6'3", like 225, and not soft. Like, it was a strong 225. And he was on third, and there was a fly ball hit, like sac fly to center field. And I remember the center fielder for China literally was probably like 5'7", like a little lefty, that he wouldn't puff your lip if he threw it at you from 10 feet away and hit you in the face. This guy catches it, and it was standard fly ball. Nate tags up, starts running. Guy throws it in, like 3 hops it to the cutoff guy. The guy cuts it, throws it home. The catcher is standing straight up, covering the whole plate, with his foot. When I say, like, Nate blew this guy up, like, the guy it was like a D-cleat. Like, just went flying, okay? Like, they didn't understand, I think, just because it was relatively new, those players didn't really understand just kind of certain ways that you just give him the play. Like, that's not going to be a play. Like, he's not going to throw him out. Like, you should just...
I understand where to position yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Just a feel for... just instincts for the game. And this guy is sprawled out, like literally looked like somebody shot him from the stands. He's just laying there on the ground. Their place is going crazy upset. Their players are like screaming at us. Nate ended up losing a tooth. Like, he hit him so hard, like hit the guy. You know, he didn't do it on purpose, but the guy's on the plate. Next guy up, they just had no idea what they were doing. Like, hit a guy in the head. You know, and so it turned into like a beanball war where they're hitting guys, and you know, it's like, dude, we got guys coming out of the bullpen that are throwing like 96. Like, your best bolt's 87. Like, do not, you guys don't want to. You're
barking up the wrong tree.
Don't come barking up this tree. Like, and there's some big, strong, physical guys over here. Like, not me. Those guys, my friends over there. They're the big guys. You know, so yeah. But it was crazy. It was a crazy experience. Cuba was legit. Chinese Taipei, so Taiwan, like, they were legit too. And internationally, like, the way baseball's played is much different. It's more festive. It's more there's more chants. It's more like kind of soccer, you know, how they kind of do things in, you know, around the world. And I remember they would one side of the stadium would chant to the other side of the stadium, and they would the whole game, the whole time. And the bigger the situation, and they were intense games. I mean, they got louder. And then if there was 2 strikes on one of our guys, this noise that they would make, like, it was kind of like a build-up, like, oh, and then they would just scream something. And it was 8,000 people from Taiwan screaming in unison. It's one thing, and so it was pretty cool. Like, but when I say everybody was against us, like, everybody was against us. Like, they did not want to see us win. And they thought, too, we go in that village, the Olympic Village, water polo team from Italy. Dude, when they think of United States baseball, they think Derek Jeter. They see these contracts. So they don't know that we aren't allowed to take our big leaguers. So you got guys that are A-ball, AA, guys that are, you know, 4A guys that are, you know, have some big league time but are, you know, just AAA older guys. They thought we were gabillionaires. They loved us. They thought they thought literally we were like A-Rod, like a $200 million contract. Like, no, I'll make like $2,000 a month in Reading. Like, that's what we're, you know, I'm eating cheese puffs and peanut butter and jelly every day. Like, that's what we're
sleeping
doing. On an air mattress. Yeah.
You won the bronze medal.
Yeah, we beat Japan, and Japan took all their big leaguers. So they had they were legit too. Daisuke was there. They had a couple of Kawakami was his last name. He pitched a few years for the Braves. But I remember they were very polite. And those are the main stars in Japan. And everybody said they're going to win the gold medal. And so Cuba had beat us in the winner goes to gold, loser plays for the bronze. And Cuba, I mean, legit. I mean, they were really good. And there was no love lost between us and them. I mean, it was they say a rivalry. Like, it was a rivalry. Like, all those guys for Cuba had been playing for the Cuban national team for 20 years. You know, I mean, it's just like they had been a part of so many international games. Like, I mean, their catcher was like 39 years old, you know, and it's such a different culture, obviously. They couldn't leave their rooms. They couldn't go anywhere. They had to, you know, government personnel was with them the whole time because they could defect. They left the Aroldis Chapman in Cuba because they were concerned he was going to defect. And but when we played Japan, I remember Brett Anderson was pitching for us, who pitched for the A's, and he was like 21, like 20. He was 20 years old. He was an A-ball, like it was like his second like full season. And I remember he gave up a 3-run bomb like in the second inning. And it's like, dude, we've come all this way. We're getting out of here with a medal. And I remember we were down 3-0, and he was like, it was like a like furious, not like anger, but just like a desire. He shoved the rest of the way. And I remember it was a guy named Matt Brown who had a little bit of time in the big leagues, and this guy could play. He's with the Angels at the time. He hit a 3-run homer like in the 5th to tie it up. And then Taylor Teagarden came up and hit, I think, another homer. And then the next inning, I hit a homer in that game. And I remember they were just trying to pound me in the whole time. Because the first time we'd played them, I'd hit some, I think I lined out to right. Like I'd hit some balls good. They were out over the plate. And so they're obviously going to change what they were trying to do. So they were going like change-ups and heaters in. And I remember it was just a lefty, kind of funky. It wasn't, I thought he was pretty flat. He was probably 90. I remember just going, I'm going to sit right here, like inner half. And I'm just, because I saw him good. And when I clicked it, the only thing I remember is it stayed straight. It went right off the foul pole. And it was a pretty, a really fun, like that was fun. You know, that was like, dude, this is like when you're the competitive desire for us to win and what was kind of on the line, what was on the line for us. And it was, I think if you won a gold, it was 25,000. Silver was 15,000 is what the Olympic committee would pay. And then 10 grand for a bronze.
For each player?
For each player. And so I remember like actually leading up, like during round robin play, we had struggled a little bit and we were losing to Canada like 2-1. And I remember this guy named Terry Tiffey. He stood up. He's a big old Southern dude. He said, I came here to win some money. Better start picking it up. Let's go. And just, it was like, whoa, dude. I mean, it was intense. And, you know, we started going, but it was really neat. Like, it was almost a sense of relief that, okay, we're going to fly home with a medal. You know, it's like, you've never thought about winning a medal, Olympic medal your whole life. It's like, well, now that we're here, we damn well better win one, you know?
That's awesome. Dude. I mean, your career right now, you're going good, right? You're thinking, and for you, you're probably like, you know, I'm probably going to get up there in the Phillies pretty soon. And then 09
but they were
hits.
Stacked, too.
I know.
Yeah.
So 09 comes, you're traded to the Indians.
Yeah.
What's your mindset there? And then go into your call-up in May of 2010.
Yeah, so when I had gotten traded, I remember in 2009, going into that year, like Utley had just had like hip surgery. Some guys were banged up in the infield, and they were talking about, and I wasn't to my protection year yet, to where they got to put me on the 40-man or whatever. Typically, they're going to wait, you know, so they don't start your clock, all that kind of stuff. And I played every day in spring training. I had a good spring training, and like at the end, they're like, "Hey, all our guys are healthy," and you can see the writing on the wall. But I was beat up. I was beat up and hurt, and I remember like when the season started in AAA. I was one of the younger guys. I think I was like 23 or 24. And, you know, I was playing with guys that are 32, 33. I wasn't right. And I was scuffling and struggling. And then I tore my meniscus. And I didn't know, and I played through it. And I'm just like, I can't walk anymore. Like, this thing hurts way too much. So they did surgery. And that was difficult because the whole time you're thinking, you know, maybe a matter of time before I get to the big leagues. And now it's like, dude, I'm hitting $150. I'm hurt. You realize how quickly, like when you're going good, how people think you're the best, right? And it's easy to kind of fall under that spell of like, you almost just assume it's going to happen. Well, that was a wake-up call, like in a heartbeat. I remember I had just gotten healthy. I was like one game back and I got traded. And I was still like on kind of a progression to play type deal where it's like, I'll play 2 days in a row and sit a day. Play 2, sit. And so, you know, I went back home that off season like, I got to get after this thing. I mean, not that I did not get after it, but it's like, it was kind of sobering in a way. And it recharged my battery a little bit. And so when I got called up, I started the year in AAA. And when I got sent out of big league camp, I mean, I was furious. I remember just thinking, this guy's not better than me. You guys are going to keep him, whatever. But I didn't concern myself with what's going on ahead. I think, you know, if you think back to high school kids, like, it's going to be there. You know, if the whole cliche, like, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. But it's like, dude, if you can, you're going to get an opportunity. And if you can't, the game's going to prove it, and the game's going to tell you, and you're just, you won't be there. But just take care of your business right then and there. And I kind of got back to that. And when I got called up, I remember Asdrubal Cabrera was playing short, and I was in the dugout, and one of our pitchers came in the dugout because the clubhouse was right off the dugout, and said, "Hey, Cabby just broke his arm." And literally, like, everybody looked at me. And I think I was like 0 for 2 or something with 2 punches. I was like, "Don't look at me! Like, stop! I don't care. I'm trying to get a hit in AAA right now." And sure enough, like, and then I got hit like on the arm, like my next at bat. My manager was great, Mike Sarbaugh, who's their third base coach now, and with the big league team in Cleveland. And so he took me on. He's like, "Hey, man, we're just going to make sure you're okay. We're just going to..." Typically, if something like that happens, they'll pull a guy. If you're going to get called up, like, guys will get pulled out, like, mid-at-bat. And so they took me on, but I was like, I'm not even thinking about that. I had, like, just a little welt on my arm. It's like, I'm fine. Takes me to the training room after the game. Trainer checks me out. Look at me. He's like, "You okay?" He was like, "Dude, yes, I'm fine. Stop." And Sarby's standing there just looking at me. He goes, "Is he good?" "Good." "Yeah." He goes, "You're going to the big leagues." And I was like, "Whoa, cool, man. Where's the ball club at?" "They're in Tampa, and they got a 1:00 game tomorrow." "Huh?" Like, dude, it's 11:30 here. Like, I got to go from Ohio down to Tampa. Like, and so Trevor Crow, who I went to college with, was in the big leagues with Cleveland. And he texted me. He said, "You better sleep fast, man." He's like, you're starting to short tomorrow. You better be ready to go." I'm like, "All right, dude, cool." And I remember like gathering my stuff in the clubhouse. I got in my car. I was driving back to my apartment. So you know, Jason. So I call. So I'm like, he's like, "Dude, this is crazy." I'm like, "How about that? This is nuts." I think I maybe slept an hour. I go to the airport. I fell asleep, like, on the ground in the airport. Like, that's how tired I was. The stewardess woke me up. She said, "Do you need to get on this flight?" I said, "Yes." Like, literally, I got on there. And I think I landed, at, like, 11 o'clock. And the stadium was, like, 45 minutes or, like, 30 minutes from the airport. And they were going to take BP. Like, dude, the last thing I want to do going into, like, any game is field rushed, but I'm like, dude, I'm about to be in the big leagues. Like, I don't want to roll off a plane and just go play. Like, no. I asked the taxi guy. I don't think there was Ubers back then. I don't know. I said, "Hey, how long does it take to get to the stadium?" And he's like, "It's usually 20, 30 minutes." He's like, "But with traffic," he's like, "probably be some traffic." He's like, "Probably like 45 minutes." To an hour. And I was like, that's kind of when BP starts. And I said, "I will double your fare if you get there in 25 minutes. This guy was going 100 miles an hour, weaving through this causeway, like,
whatever
into
it
Tampa.
took.
Yeah, whatever. I you get there. I remember I ran in there, and as I was coming into the clubhouse, I was just pulling my suit off because guys were walking out for BP. I was pulling my suit off, and the clubbies were putting a shirt on me because I was doing it. Like they were just giving me stuff to wear, like, "Here's your pants." And I just, once I got on the field and stretched, it was like, okay, whew, all right, I can this is somewhat more normal. And I remember BP got done, and it was like, eat pregame spread. I think I ate a strawberry. That was it. Like, I was sick to my stomach. Like, and it's like, oh, who's throwing? Like, David Price. And that's when Price was like, now he, like, is a little more nifty where he cuts it and sinks it and backdoor cutters and stuff. And then it was like thunder. I mean, 98.
Power guy.
Yeah, power guy coming at you at 98. I mean, he's 6'4", long levers, good slider. He's throwing a slider like 88 with a good changeup. And I remember, like, it was just so fast and furious, like, the lead up to it. I never really had time to sit. And I remember, like, I had a sandwich made. I was sitting there at a table in the clubhouse, like, and I just wanted to puke. Like, everyone, I, like, got the strawberry and I, like, gutted it down. I'm like, okay. And then I just got to get ready to play. When I was standing on deck for my first at bat, so the game starts and it's like, just play. It's an intimidating atmosphere at first. It just, it's easy to get caught up in, like, I can't believe I'm here. I'm here. I can't believe I'm here. But I've got to go. I mean, I might be scared, but I'm literally going to like take somebody down with me. I'm just going to dog in a corner, so to speak, And I remember I was standing on deck, price is like 97, 98, 97, just shoving. I remember I went, totally just going to just swing out of my shoes first pitch. Like I don't care what he throws. Unless it goes like halfway at the backstop, like I'm going to just hack like Gary Sheffield if I can. I get in the box and first pitch, and literally I could have swung 3 times before the ball crossed the plate. He went straight combio changeup. like, like
welcome to the big.
Yeah, like I swung it like.
He probably knew too,
absolutely. Like he knew, like, dude. By the way, like most guys, like their first at bat, you just got to get it out. It's like hack. Like you just find your swing. You got to know where you're at. Second pitch, another changeup, line drive back up the middle. It's like, yeah. So that was pretty cool, but it's easy, From that point on, it was like just I'm gonna play, And I tried to make it just you got a job to do. Like go do your job. Yes, this is neat. Yeah, and then he went fastballs next at bat, and I hit a line drive to right for a base hit. So it's like I should have just quit right there.
Is that like I think it's always a 2 for 4 with the run scored that day.
Yeah.
We were talking about remembering your first hit was David Price, and your first bomb was
Jake Peavy.
Said
with the White Sox.
Yeah. Did you ever look it up, or did you just wait and
No,
yeah. So I was watching the highlight. It's on YouTube if anybody can go out there. And I don't know. He's a pretty...
Dude, that's when he was... I mean, it was... he was firm with a lot of...
But he's played with some attitude. A guy...
Yeah, he's like screaming on the mound.
You watched the highlight of this, and you can tell like he's watching you run the bases.
Yeah.
Like he knows... You may not know if that was your first home run, but I can see his eyes watching you as you get to second base. Like he's watching to see... Keep going the speed you're going.
Oh gosh, yeah.
He was very mindful of
like don't show me.
Yes,
yeah.
And even when you touched home plate, he was like, "All right, let's go next batter." Like he was going to wait for you.
No, in the earlier in the year, he had a rehab assignment in AAA, and so we played against him in AAA, and so I remember when I came up for that bat, and I was struggling before that too. Like Cleveland's a big ballpark, especially to left center, and I remember like he came out and was like, dude, like, watch this guy pitch when I was in high school. I'm facing guys that, like, when I was in high school, like, so it's a testament to them and their longevity. And I think it was like a 92 or 93 mile an hour, like, just sinker that didn't sink and just stayed straight. Probably one of the hardest balls I've ever hit in my life. Like, I'll never forget the feel of off the bat. It was like, dude, this is the craziest thing. Like, I just hit a homer off this guy.
Dude, this is awesome. I know you might not everybody, I mean, people that know this isn't what you're only known for, but when it comes to baseball, this is a thing that you're known for.
It was a big deal.
Yeah.
It was something.
Galarraga's perfect game. Yep. You broke it up. The last out of the game, you were playing, and when I saw it, I honestly want to say I saw it live, to be honest. You played the game the way you were taught to play the game, and you did that through a professional and everything, and that's what stuck out in my mind. It wasn't that you broke it up, or that, why did Jason do that? You were playing the game the way you knew how to play. Can you just tell us how that moment was and give us, how just that atmosphere?
And it's really something that, like, it's never really at the forefront of my mind. It's not that I forgot it happened, but it's like, I'll get the occasional person that just will come up to me and be like, hey, man, I saw that thing the other night it was on SportsCenter. I'm like, oh yeah, no, that was crazy. I'm like, yeah, it was nuts. Like and so people want to bring it up every now and again. And one of my buddy's dads actually said, dude, you're a trivia question. I was like, I am, aren't I? Because everybody's gonna remember the pitcher, everybody's gonna remember the umpire, but who's the
guy that broke it up?
Yeah, who's the schmo that hit the 18 hopper to the first baseman and legged it out? But I remember. Armando Galarraga, we had faced him, and I kind of shared some of these things with Chad the other night, talking to him on the phone. Shelley Duncan was, kind of an up-and-down guy in the big leagues, AAA, and he started the year in AAA, and we were together in, like, second or third week of the season. Galarraga's pitching against us. He's in Toledo, and, like, to a T, was doing the same thing. Like, had, like, a no-hitter perfect game through, like, 6. And he was, for that stage of his career, he was very good. He was a big guy, and he could cut it. He'd cut it at like 91, 92, and it was late. He'd sink it at like 92, 93, had a good changeup, and he could go four-seam elevate with it. So he was able just to give you a lot of different looks, and he kind of was like a high three-quarter arm slot to where he was tough on righties. Just you didn't get a good look at his ball when he was going good. And so, like, literally, like in the fifth inning, I remember I was sitting there, like Shelly looked at me, he was like, "Didn't we already see this guy do this earlier in the year?" I was like, "Yeah, but it was in the bush, not in the show. Like, it's a little different, doing it here." And so I remember my second at bat, I lined out. So it might have been, what would that be, like the sixth inning or something like that? Seventh?
Six.
I lined out to the right field. I like smoked it. I'm like, gosh dang it. Right? Dude, when I barrel the ball, I need those hits. Like, come on, man. It's hard enough to barrel stuff here. And so the game's going on, and everybody knows there's just a few. And it was like a Monday night. So there's 20,000 people there. And it wasn't, a Saturday night to where it's a packed house. Everybody knows what's going on. The whole stadium knows what's going on. Their ball club knows what's going on. The umpires, they know what's going on. We know what's going on in our dugout, and it's like somebody's going to break it up. He's going to plunk a guy. Somebody's going to boot a ball. Nobody goes perfect. What's been 20-some-odd times? I remember Mark Grizzolonic in the seventh. And this is when it was like 4:15 to center field. It is 4:15 to center field. I think they moved in the left field fence a little bit, but I mean it's big in their outfield. And Austin Jackson really was a tremendous center fielder. He could cover ground like nobody's business. And Grud smoked a ball. I mean, on a line, ball's carrying. It's like, dude, just barreled it. I mean, you couldn't click it any better. And Austin Jackson is full dead sprint, and he's kind of going towards like it kind of cornered in left center. The center field wall was like straight across, and then it just kind of angled, and then the left field wall ran. Full sprint, full layout, like backhand, like full extension dive, caught it, and like slid kind of like into the warning track area. And the place just lost their mind. Because he, ball off the bat, everybody's like, oh. The whole stadium's like, oh, man, it's over. And then he made that catch, and the place went nuts. Like the 25,000 people sounded like 100,000. And I remember I was standing there in the dugout, and that was the third out of the end. I did the math, and I was like, it's going to come down to me. Like, I guarantee we're not going to get a hit in the eighth. When that shows up, so sure enough, we come up and hit in the eighth. Nothing. I mean, pillow fight. We didn't do anything. Like, just not even probably a competitive ball put and played. And I remember as I was coming in from defense, people like stand above the dugout. They're like, Donald, it's going to come down to you. You suck. You got no chance. Like, we're going to have a perfect game. You're not going to break it up. You suck. And I remember just like the whole time I kept thinking, I'm going to break this thing up. Like, everybody thinks that kind of stuff. Like, oh yeah, I'll show you. I wasn't thinking that, but it was like, dude, I'm going to break this thing up. Somehow, some way, like, I'm going to fight like a dog to try to break this thing. I want to ruin this guy's night. I want to ruin all these people's night.
Stayed up late.
Yeah. I want to ruin the rest of their work week, basically, And I was standing on the steps. I was in the hole. And just kind of like I had my left foot up like on the, third step and my right foot like down on the ground at the, base of the steps. And this guy, like, people that sit around the dugout or by the on-deck circle, this guy, like, leaned over and was like, you got no chance. We're going to have a perfect game. You're not breaking this thing
Tackling
up.
you to death.
Oh, yeah, which is common. I'm like, walking up when the second out was made, and I was walking up to the plate, like, the fervor in the stadium, like, people like, this is going to happen. Like, this is going to happen. Like, this guy's got no chance. Walking up there was, like, kind of just odd, like, what's at stake? But at the same time, like, dude, I want to get a hit. Like, I'm trying to survive here.
What outweighed the other? Were you thinking, I got to get a hit, or are you thinking, this is a perfect game, moment?
Perfect
or
game,
are you cleared for the most part? Yeah.
Yeah, because there's no pressure on me. I mean, it's
all right.
Umpires.
You got one job to do.
Yeah, the guys on defense, like, they got to make a play,
right.
And so he's got to throw strikes. But also, and just over the years, you watch when guys have no hitters or perfect game going, umpires are going to be more liberal, as they should be, with strike zone, out calls, all that kind of stuff. Like, if it's in doubt or, if there's any kind of gray area, it's going to go towards the pitcher. And I remember that just like, that was somewhat in the back of my mind, but it was like fully apparent. Like the first pitch I took, he threw me like a cutter that was 2 feet off the plate away. Strike. I went, oh. Like, I'm like, I'm
harder
not,
now.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not, and I get it, understandably so, but I'm like, I'm going down punching out. Like, I don't want to be the guy where the catcher comes running past me and,
right.
I'm dragging my bat off the field into the dugout as they're all, dogpiling. So I was like, dude, it's almost like a hit and run. Like, I've got to put the ball in play. I'm going to be aggressive with it. I'm not just going to just passively try to do it, even though it looked like it. It was an 18 hopper to Miguel Cabrera. Second pitch, he went a little farther off the plate. Ball. So it was like, first one was 2 feet off the plate. This one was like 3.5 feet off the plate, and it was like, ball. It's like, okay, thank you. Like, thank you. Like, this would kind of, I'd have no shot here. So he threw me another cutter, similar to the first one. And when I put that ball in play, I saw Miguel Cabrera literally like range like 12 feet to his right. That's a second baseman's ball. To where if he just goes back to the bag,
Right.
But in the midst of it, you want to go make the play. Like, that's what he's trying to do, so I respect it. I just created more of a challenge. And as you see, you watch baseball games, when pitchers go and cover, the angle they take, work up the line, catch the ball. If the base runner gets even, at some point in that foot race to the bag, if the runner gets even or a step ahead, typically he's going to be safe, right? I mean, it's just kind of how the rhythm of the play works. Because they have to throttle down, slow down, catch the ball, tag the bag, step on the bag. When I put that ball in play, like, literally, like, I started running hard, but my eyes went to, like, Galarraga. And as he's working up the line, my whole thought, I didn't even really watch the play, like, I just knew the first baseman got it, that's it. But my whole thought was, I need to get ahead of him. Not like, I'm not trying to beat the ball out. I need to get a step ahead of him. Like, that's what I was like. I felt like I was racing him in a way. Get a step ahead of him, and I'm going to be safe. Obviously, I was called safe, but that didn't happen. When you watch it in slow-mo, it's obvious and apparent. In real time, I mean, it's boom, boom. And when he got to the bag before me, about a step and a half, and it's right, I mean, he catches it, and I hit the bag. I remember thinking that, like, as I'm running through, I'd, like, get another step past the bag, and Jim Joyce was right in front of me. Typically, with plays like that, the guy's got to be 4 steps past the bag for them to call him safe, right? Any gray area, it's going to go to him. When his arms went safe, I was the most shocked person in the stadium. Just waiting for him to go, punch me out. And when he did that, I was not expecting it. And then all hell broke loose. Their dugout, Jim Leland came and was like screaming at the top of his lungs. And I didn't even know like how I walked back to first base. I didn't even know, like, just, it was like, dude, there's a lot going on here. The noise in the stadium. I've never been a part of I've never been around like a mob, like a mob mentality where there's just like a growing anger. Dude, the noise of the boos. I don't even know how. It could have been 10 minutes. It could have been 1 minute of the time between the next pitch. Everything just kind of like stood still. And I remember I was standing on first and just the commotion was still going on. And Miguel Cabrera was in his face screaming. All these guys were yelling. And to Jim Joyce's credit, he just
stayed it.
Yeah, just stayed the course. And I was standing on first kind of like watching. And I remember, they were kind of off to my right. And Sandy Alomar Jr., first base coach. And I kind of like look up at him out of the corner of my left eye and he goes, "You were out, bro." And I was like, yeah. I said, I know. I said, I know, Sandy. I know, man. I know I was out. And he's like, "Are you kidding me right now?" I said, "No." He goes, "Dude, this is crazy."
Did you get a lot of heat after? I mean, any?
So, yes and no.
And you just did your job.
Yeah,
your job was to put the ball in play and run hard.
Yeah. And I think so many guys, like people complain that guys in the big leagues don't play hard, and they do. You can't run a hard 90 every time when you're playing 162 games. I'm sorry. You can give a good effort, but you can't go, all out sprint. But it's like people get upset about guys not playing hard. Being on first base, and he was going to throw out of the stretch. And he'd thrown 90 pitches from the windup the whole time. And I remember Alex Avila, the catcher, he stood up. He goes, no. It was 3-0. So my run meant nothing. The guy at the plate meant nothing. He said, no. Go to the windup. And they weren't covering me at first, right? Just coverage. And I did not go. Like the first bit. Like I remember I looked at the scene and I was like, normally you would go.
Right.
It's within the confines of the game. It's how you do it. I was like, I don't know, man. I feel like I'm skating on thin ice here.
Yeah.
Like you just don't. I don't know. And I was like, I looked at the stadium like, can I go? And he's like, yeah, go. You're fine. I was like, okay. So the second pitch I went, and I was running into second base, and like Carlos Guillen was playing second, and it was Ramon Santiago was playing short. And I remember they looked at me. It was like, you kind of do the like, can you believe that just happened? It was like the expression said, I'm like, it's crazy, man. They're like, yeah, Papi, it's crazy. I was like, yeah, Latin, a lot of the Latin guys,
right.
Hey, Papi. So the game's over. So I come into the dugout, and at Comerica, if it's still called that, you take a flight of steps up to the clubhouse. Before I got to the steps, like as I get my bats, I get my helmet and glove, I go walking kind of back through into the room that takes you up, and Austin Kearns and Grizzlonic and Jake Westbrook were standing there. Jake Westbrook pitched a long time in the big leagues. They said, hey, so here's what you're going to do. You're just going to play stupid. Jim's a respected guy here. And not a lot of umpires have, I think, players respect. There's some really good ones, but he treated players with respect and took a lot of pride in what he did, and it mattered to him. Not to say it doesn't matter for the other guys, but players had a respect for him. And so they said, you're not going to blow him up in any way. You're not going to say, oh, of course I knew I was out. You're going to happen fast. I haven't seen a replay. I don't know. I have no idea. You guys can ask me tomorrow. I'll have an answer for you then. So I go up, get in the clubhouse, and they usually give you about 15 minutes. There's like a 15-minute window when the game's over to where the media is not allowed in. It just gives, you need longer than 15 minutes,
sure.
But for guys just to kind of gather themselves. If you've had a rough night, and the media wants to come talk to you, you want to be able to somewhat kind of compose yourself and cool down a little bit. So I remember, I think I went in the training room really quick, and I come walking out, and the media was in the clubhouse, and there was just a sea of humanity in front of my locker. I remember I walked up, I'm like, what do you guys want to talk about?
Break the ice.
Mm-hmm. And it was just like peppering questions, like, oh, can you believe that? And I said, I was doing the whole, hey, he pitched a great game tonight. I haven't seen a replay. I don't know. I don't know if I was out. I don't know if I was safe. It's, fast. It was fast on the field. Now, I wasn't fast, but it was just, just things happen quickly. And then one reporter goes, well, then why did you put your hands on top of your head like you were in disbelief? And I was like, I didn't even know I did that. I'm thinking, I was like, I didn't know I did that. I said, oh, I don't know. I said, I think maybe just what was at stake, just kind of a disbelief that it happened. I don't know. So, I go shower up, eat, all that kind of stuff, and I look at my phone. And I think I probably almost crashed my phone. I think I had 500 text messages. And it was like, are you kidding me? This is the craziest thing. And Sedoyan and my other best friend, Brett Prieto, I think they were the only guys, and my parents. Those were the only two people, non-immediate family that obviously texted back. I'm like, I'll call you guys when I get back to the hotel. And Sedoyan's like, bro, are you kidding me? This is the craziest thing. I can't believe this. Okay. So we get on the bus and heading back to our hotel. And the hotel that you'd stay at when you play there is in Birmingham. It's 30 minutes away. I get back, turn on ESPN. I'm like, there it is. I'm like, oh my gosh. I was I was sitting by myself in my hotel room going, I can't believe that happened. This is the craziest thing. And so the next day was a day game. When I came out of the dugout to go run down the line before the game, I was literally one step out of the dugout, coming up off the stairs. and there was like 30 people like, F you, Donald. And it didn't bother me one bit. Like, I didn't even give it a second thought. So when I was running down the line getting loose, they brought the pitcher, Armando Galarraga, and to his credit, he handled it great. He's standing at home plate, and they're like, since you were such a class act last night, we have something, Chevrolet would like to present you with a gift. And then the right field corner gate swings open, and this cherry red Corvette comes pulling out. They drive it on the field, and they drive it to home plate. And I was like walking back towards the foul line after like running a sprint. And a couple guys were stretching. I said, "What do I get?"
Yeah,
like kind of kidding around. I'm like, I broke that thing up. What do I get? Out of respect to Jim Joyce, like a Fox News morning show, all these morning shows that are nationally broadcasted. They want to talk about it because it was a big deal for just a short amount of time. I didn't do any of it, just out of respect to him. Not that I was trying to make it go away, but it's like there's no need to keep reliving it. And I'd come across Jim quite a few times after that. And this was like maybe a year later. I think it was like at Yankee Stadium, or a couple months later it was at Yankee Stadium. And there was a bang play at first, and he was the first base guy. I was out, and he goes, "Stop doing that." Like kidding around, he's like, "Stop doing that stuff." He's like, "You're gonna give me a heart attack over here." I was just a part of it. Those two guys were the main characters, and that was a real authentic emotion and reaction from Jim. I think that it says a lot about who he is, that he's willing to stand up and answer those tough questions.
Well, now it goes into replay and you're out. Nowadays,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, how do you feel about that?
I think there's some good things to it, but I also think you take away some uniqueness. You take away like kind of the real life portion of it.
The grind, 162 games. I mean, what is that really like?
I think physically, yes, it's very draining, but mentally, the ebb and flow of a season, especially in the big leagues, the constant attention, like you can't, if you're struggling, it's there's no hiding from it. And if you try to hide from the media, they'll blow you up. But, it's just like you live life while you're playing. Football, everything shuts down. Those football players, they're playing on Sunday. Their whole day is dedicated to that. You're always tired. It's just how tired are you? Once you leave spring training, you're no longer fresh. So, really it's just you're gauging every day, okay, not if I can push, but just like how much work am I going to do before the game to make sure that I'm prepared physically, and within that physical work, you mentally get prepared for that night. But I think you have good people in your life. Good teammates are helpful. Just of like where you are in the struggle together. And if you've got some guys that can you can kind of laugh about things, and you laugh about things like, dude, how embarrassing was that swing I took? Like, you know what I mean? Like stuff right. Like, you kind of crack jokes about yourself. But, it's the grind of it is very challenging because you lose strength. You have to make sure you're sleeping. You got to eat. I mean, you're traveling. I mean, nothing, your hours are so just like inconsistent, day game, night game. It's trying. So I think, especially for the younger guys, for high school kids, it's like, dude, if you can't show up every day ready to practice and ready to get after it, like ready to push, like for 2 hours, 3 hours, where it's like, dude, if you really want to go and play, hey, if you just are doing it because it's fun and you want to be a part of the team, that's one thing. But if you're a guy that like professes to like, hey, I want to be a guy, high school is as safe as it can possibly be. And if you can't have effort with that, then it's like, dude, it just becomes a little bit more challenging in college with better players. And then, you get into pro ball, it's like everybody's really good. But mentally, if it's like, I've got 50% in the tank today, I'm going to give you all 50. There isn't a type of aggression, like a purpose to what you do. like when you're playing, and it's learned over time. You learn that's why they call it development. That's what the minor leagues are for. Like you develop, like, but you've got to retain it and figure it out and understand who you are as a player, and it builds over time. It's brick by brick. And I hope, like, I don't want to come off as like I got all the answers, I got it figured out. These are my experiences. These are things that I've seen from guys I played with, tremendous coaches that I've had in the minor leagues, the big leagues, college. It wasn't just like had it. No, it was over time with a lot of good, sound instruction, a lot of good guys, tremendous men teaching me like how to do it. This is how you go about it. You see that? That's how that guy does it. That's how you want it. You see that? That's not how you want to do it. And so, I had the benefit of guys teaching me and pouring into me and like good things, you know. And so it's not like I just rolled out of bed like I got it all figured out. No, it's trial and error over a long period of time. And so,
yeah, but to have that talent and to be coachable, you know, today's you just don't see it as much anymore. You see talented guys that just I'm talented.
I remember I always tell this one story to any kind of high school kid that wants to know about hard work. It's in my head just from our city county game. And it's supposed to be fun, right? We're just joking around with Sedoyan, Ragosa. I mean, you know, but you are at shortstop taking ground ball after ground ball after ground ball. Shirt comes off, new shirt comes on. This is an all-star game. Nobody is doing that. That's from this. It wasn't just, okay, here's your scholarship. Here's your all-state. You didn't bat .534 with all that stats for no reason. You worked. You're in an all-star game grinding when we're supposed to have fun. And I know you had fun, but we're all joking around the outfield. There's Jason over at shortstop just grinding ground ball after ground ball. But that's why he was the player he was, the person he was. The work ethic was there. You know, because like he'll tell you, he might not have been the most talented where he went, but he worked harder to get there, you know, and that's where your work ethic came from growing up, you know, and then with Buchanan, you helped build that powerhouse. You know, you were in there building that powerhouse. You know, Buchanan's had some of the most college D1 professional big league guys in the last 20 years. And, you know, you got to play for your dad, and now your dad retired. And, you know, how do you feel with Fonts taking over at Buchanan?
I don't think there's a better fit than Brad. He's tremendous. I've said it since right when I got done playing. I coached those few years. He's pro. Like, he is legitimately a pro. Like, he could go into pro ball. The lens that he views things through, what he sees in guys' swings, kind of the you know, quote unquote X's and O's of baseball. You know, just the finer details, the minutia of the game. He really is able to identify those things, but not. It's one thing to identify it. The other is to be able to put it into practice, to put it into play, to help a player. Put that in his back pocket. That's helping a player get better, develop. I think he's the most qualified baseball man, and I consider him a baseball man. There's a lot of guys that are in baseball. He's a good baseball man. He knows the game, knows what it's supposed to look like. He teaches it the right way. He teaches the correct things. He teaches the correct of effort. This is what it's supposed to look like. This is how we go about it. It's very professional, I think, how he conducts his business. He's very prepared. He's as good as they get for high school baseball. I'm not kidding you. Like, his knowledge and how he runs things, he could go run a college program. He could be a minor league hitting coordinator. You know, like, he could. Those are type of things that he would be able to do no problem, just because of, one, his background. He played, all right, and he played pro ball. But two, just his understanding of things. And it's a rare combo of, he gets the skill side of it and the mental side of it, so to speak, of those things got to match up, you know? And so just because a player's good and he's soft, it all becomes somewhat of a wash. He does a good job of instructing of, that's not good enough. you got to think this way, or this is the adjustment we want to make from it. And so he does a very good job of teaching the game as well. Yeah, he's tremendous.
It's good stuff. I like Brett a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Loved him at Central. Always thought he's done it the right way. A man of integrity.
Yes.
And I think that's great for Buchanan and continue the long legacy, man, and putting guys out. And I can you commit to a second visit with us? Maybe in the next few weeks?
I don't know. You might lose all the listeners and be like
no,
this is going to be our longest show. It's probably going to be our biggest hit.
I think we just scratched the surface. I think there's a lot of other things within coaching, the Valley baseball that we didn't get into. This was more, and we've talked about how we wanted to do this. We wanted to get your story, your career, and I think we did that. I would love to have you come back on, and maybe we get more into details of local baseball, the talent that's gone through Buchanan, James Patrick and the success he's had, and a lot of Valley coaches. Yeah. So I think that'd be great for everybody here too. So if we can get you to come back maybe in the next couple of weeks, we do it again.
Absolutely.
And hopefully there won't be so much background noise. I hope we can edit out some of the work going on in the background. But I really, dude, we just talked the other day. I was like, we're gonna just turn the record button on and we're just gonna let him go. We don't need to interject at all. I want to hear all the story in detail. And dude, it's been a pleasure.
I appreciate it. So and I hope it comes across as like trying to help and not. This is what you have to do, because how I did things.
Well, I can
there
tell
might
you
be a better way for another.
After talking with Labby, and we had Tyler Vittori, who's with Sacramento State, and even Carson Seamus, and then even James. Last week. Mm-hmm. If you go back and listen to, at some point, all of you guys kind of have. You hit on something the same. Mm-hmm. Whether there's 5 things James said and 8 things you said and 2 things Labby said, within there, 2 or 3 of them are all the same and they mesh together.
Yep.
And so I think it creates a path to say, man, these guys are onto something. Mm-hmm. I can take this advice and I can use it going forward and get to where you talked about goals and what are you going to do within that goal to get to achieve it. So
absolutely,
I think there's a lot of stuff there.
It comes down to hard work and are you willing to put in the time?
Yep.
Yeah,
that's what it comes down to.
That's it.
You got to pay the price now to reap the benefits.
Absolutely.
We appreciate everybody listening. Again, Jason, thanks for coming on. We'll set this up and definitely do it again soon. Just like to thank all the listeners. And Chad, anything you want to say before we go?
Thanks again. We hit 1,000 plays yesterday.
It's growing every week, man. It started at nothing, and just in 4 weeks, it's been pretty cool to see it grow. So
we do it for them, and I mean we love talking about it. We love our guests, having them on. But we're doing it for a purpose. We're trying to give the parents and players out there the best information to help if they want to go on to the next level, to help them achieve that and what it takes to get there. So, again, thanks. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Well, that's episode 7 of the Hit.OR.DIE podcast. And we got another good one next week, too. So stay with us, guys. And we thank you for listening.
You can stream the Hit.OR.DIE podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Soundcloud, Spreaker, and iHeartRadio. The show is also available on YouTube. For news and updates about the show or to get involved, check us out on Facebook and Twitter at Hit.OR.DIE Podcast.